What's up, everybody? Lawler here, your inside source for all things Rocket League. We've got some fun things to break down for you guys today when it comes to the news. Some roster rumors about who Yukeo and Kuxir may end up picking up. More information on Triple Trouble and possible changes over there. You've also got a team releasing one of their rosters, as well as a few other things that are of pretty big importance. But before we get into that, as always, if you guys enjoy the content, as always, make sure you guys give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, all that fun stuff. Trying to hit 50,000 by the end of this year. Your support is greatly appreciated. And if you'd like to support me directly, easiest way to do so is at the bottom left where you see all my social medias. You can find those in the description down below, along with everything else we're talking about today. With that said, let's get into the video. Up first is going to be a rumor coming out from Shift talking about how the duo of Yukeo and Kuxir 97 continue to explore their options, having more recently tried out a former FC Barcelona player, Rizex 45. A little bit of context in this one. Obviously, Yukeo and Kuxir used to be on separate teams. Yukeo is now off of Fadeaway because Fadeaway is disbanding. Swag looks like they have disbanded for Kuxir, who used to be with Flakes and Ease/Rezi. That is no longer the case. It looks like this team that used to play together on Flipside is reuniting and trying to find a different third. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But I do agree that going back to a teammate and a chemistry that used to work that has already been built may work out even better. Some changes and some shifts of things going on based upon results, but I think we are starting to see that second iteration of the old guard starting to fall off. The first time was when you started to see players like Jacob and etc. get put down into teams like 72PC, and now you're seeing a second wave of that with the Kuxirs, the Kronovis, the guys that have been around for a very long time that have not transitioned into coaching, like Fireburner or Chrome or something to that extent. You may start to see a lot of this old guard start to fall off. Case in point, you can see people like Remco now switching into coaching positions as well as he has for Team Liquid. So a little bit of interesting take on this one. I still think they'll be super competitive. I think they'll still be able to compete at a high level, but whether they'll be enough to get into the big matches, the majors and stuff, I quite honestly don't think so. In another rumor by Shift, it does say that Triple Trouble continuing trialing changes in their roster. This time, Polar and Rise were trialed in replacement of longtime team member Tadpole. Additionally, it is rumored that the roster will experiment replacing for Calyx. Not sure on how this one's going to play out, but again, we are going to see, and I've talked about this in recent videos. I've also talked about this in a recent interview with Leaf for his channel, but we are going to probably be seeing quite a few roster changes in when it comes to the spring split. There's that trade window that goes from the end of January until early March. And I'll have more details about that. I'll make sure to detail all those trades as well through a document. If you guys haven't seen that document, come over to my Twitch chat. I'll tell you about it. But because there's so many teams that have pretty much solidified themselves as a runner and have potential to make it into the majors as well as the World Championship, there's going to be a core group that stays the same, because if they do make changes, it's going to either A, get rid of their newest player coming in. Thoughts easily come to mind about version 1. Them getting rid of Calm wouldn't make any sense, so they're kind of stuck with that to move forward based upon the results. But then you look at some of these other rosters that are kind of on the outside of things, and the difficulty is they don't really have a chance to make anything happen in the spring split enough to make them have a chance at the major, which would then give them a chance at the World Championship. And because of that, it is better now to have a lot of these teams either disband and completely start from scratch now that we don't see a continuation. The open qualifier situation is an open qualifier, so you can completely start with a brand new roster and you can completely change everything over, or you can start to build upon and build a foundation. I look at teams like Team Liquid as an example of this, where even though things have been okay, it's still not the results that they need. So you can see Team Liquid completely disband, start a different roster. You can see them try to build something around someone like Ronicky. These things I think are going to be where the major trades come in. We're going to see a lot less trades than we saw in the first trade window, but the ones that are happening here are probably going to be pretty significant and cause for a lot of domino effect between all the different teams. Probably better to do it earlier than later. Speaking of roster changes and things that could come due to results, it is going to be RixGG that is the first to talk about it. And they say it is with great sadness we announce that our Rocket League roster is now open for new opportunities. All players on the current roster have permission to search for other opportunities in professional Rocket League. Basically what this means is that, yes, the team is still under a organization and their contract is still in place, but there is plans of releasing them when that contract has been fulfilled. At the same time, if Rix can recoup some of that cost, it is better for the team, if they would like to stay together, to go and find a different organization to buy them out. And if they do buy them out, Rix makes some of that money back. So rather than limiting the players, they have basically told the players, hey, we're going to be releasing you, but we don't want to keep you guys on wraps. Go and find a new team. Try to go find others. Hopefully, Rix is also trying to do that for them as well to create those relationships. But ultimately, the Rix team is not having a good performance in the winter split. They're 2-21. One match coming against Train Hard, another coming up against Dignitas, one in regional, one in grid. Other than that, 2-21 is not a good look. It is very difficult to justify keeping a roster if that is the situation. This could be another roster that disbands and then their talents go elsewhere. Maybe Magnus teams up with Kuxir. I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening, but there is some pretty talented people on this team, and it'll be interesting to see where they end up going over to. But as of right now, this team has no longer been represented by an org. They're just waiting for the contract to be fulfilled. Another roster news with Sadjunior coming over as a coach for the Jamal Jabary team. That means that their current manager in Z-Speed will be let go. It is kind of a weird situation because Jamal Jabary right now is not a signed organization. They are not a team that has backing or funding coming into them. So it makes kind of no sense for them to have both a manager and a coach. You're also seeing a lot in the Rocket League scene where coaches are just becoming the managers, where they are in charge of basically babysitting the guys and making sure that their flights are on time and all that kind of stuff, and making sure scheduling and scrims and everything else that's going on is taken care of, as well as handling all the businessy middleman transaction stuff. Sadjunior does have a lot of experience with that, obviously being former Cloud9 and a former pro, so him taking both roles kind of makes a ton of sense. So unfortunately for Z-Speed, he is on his way out. Maybe he can find somewhere else, but at the same time, they do have a new home in Sadjunior that is going to be joining them. So we'll see how it goes. Sadjunior's involvement has definitely made some changes in Jamal Jabary. Despite going down against Alpine twice in a row in grid, have gotten their most recent win in regionals when it matters most. So we'll have to talk about that one in a future video, probably next Monday. And last but not least, a pretty important one here, and totally not planned, I think. The director of esports for Guild Esports, Grant Russo, butchered his name, apologies probably, had some things to tweet about. He talks about how FNCS is starting February 4th, talks about Red Bull Gaming Valorant tournament is this weekend, and he's excited about that. And then in the next line, he talks about how the Rocket League Major Qualifiers are this Friday, which has not been announced. He actually ends up leaking this information. For those that don't know, there's a four-way tie going on over in Europe for the majors. There's a lot of tiebreaker stuff that has to be figured out and trying to figure out who's going to qualify and who's going to make it in. And a lot of us have been wondering, when is that actually going to happen? When are these matches going to go down? Who's going to play when? Do we get to watch these? Or is this going to happen all behind the scenes? And I hope it doesn't happen behind the scenes, because this is a big deal. 4 teams going into the major and trying to figure out who's going to actually qualify is a very big circumstance. You know, this correlates because as well, he talks about how the major is on February 20th, which I do talk about. If you guys want to know about the winter split majors, you can check that out in a video that is linked down in the related, as well as a couple of videos back if you like to pay attention. But he actually ends up leaking this information. I don't think people knew about this, so for him to put this information out is actually pretty great. I'm glad we're able to get this information, even if Psyonix has not put it up publicly. At the same time, Psyonix, if you know this information, if it has been made public to the parties, make it public to the people. There is no reason for this information not to go out publicly. As soon as you know those details, as soon as that information has been finalized, and maybe that's why they're holding the information, playing devil's advocate a little bit. Maybe they're not 100% on it, but if you've been putting this out to the organizers and saying like, hey, this information is not public, there could be a chance that they are still waiting to see final touches. But again, this information needs to be made known as soon as possible. This is, again, another thing that you guys did not let the public know. Yes, you may have educated people about the changes to the grid on the RLCS broadcast, but why is it not anywhere else? Why is it not on your Twitter? Why is it not on any social media? This information is important. It allows people to follow along with your circuit-based format. This stuff needs to come out publicly. So the only thing, and the only way I'm defending the Psyonix and the esports team on this one, is if this date is not finalized and there is some working pieces. This is just the tentative date they gave to people, but with it being in just a few days, it leads me to believe that this is the date and there is no excuse for them not to put this information out. I hope that's the case, but again, Psyonix, please put out this information as soon as you are making it official. We need to know it. With that said, that is going to wrap it up for this video. If you guys do have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, drop those in the comments down below. And if you'd like more information about the stuff we're talking about, links to that in the description can be found. But if you guys do enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.